there's one critique I have for the Browns this offseason. We brought back a lot of guys, brought in Judy. Now we've had some new additions, especially this past week. But the one complaint I have is linebacker. And I think this is going to be an interesting conversation. And by the way, before I go on too far, let's save Justin Fields for the next podcast, just because I don't know how long this is going to go, and we're over an hour. So the Browns have signed 2 linebackers. Sione Takitaki walks. Anthony Walker Jr. is a Miami Dolphin. Okay, some holes. And how do the Browns fill them? Well, they go out and they sign Jordan Hicks to a 2-year deal. And then they sign Devin Bush to, I believe it's a 1-year deal.
Yeah, it was one year.
Yeah. So, Tristan, I'm going to let you go first, and then I'll share my thoughts because I got a lot to say on linebacker, but go ahead.
Yeah, so here's where I want to start, right? So the 1-for-1 swap that we can look at middle linebacker, Anthony Walker for Jordan Hicks. I do feel like that is an upgrade. Anthony Walker, you knew what you were getting, a great leader, very good in the run. Was a little bit more questionable against the pass, right? But for me, this was clearly Jim Schwartz saying, hey, I know this guy. He knows my system. He's a good leader. Let's get him. And when I look at Jordan Hicks and I kind of match him up with Anthony Walker, I think that they're very similar with run stopping. I do think Hicks is more mobile, and therefore he is a better pass protector. Yeah. No. Coverage guy. I'm sorry. I'm all over the place today.
Jordan Hicks, your new offensive guard. No, I'm just kidding.
Right. Oh, jeez. Yeah, DeJuan Jones and Jordan Hicks, you're starting offensive tackles. No, but I think that he is better in coverage. And when I look at, all right, what's the identity going to be of this linebacking room this year? To me, it's athleticism.
Yeah.
That's the first thing that pops up to me. The 2 guys that we brought in are both very athletic. I believe to be good in coverage, at least solid in coverage. It's clear that we are building this team to be like this D line can get home and nobody's gonna give up much in the pass game. That's what, to me, this is kind of symbolizing. And it's interesting. I like it. I'm excited to see what Hicks can do. Very solid player. Very excited for his arrival. I will say I am a huge fan of that signing. Mm-hmm. Big question mark for him is injuries. Can he stay on the field? He had a pretty, I can't remember the name of the exact disease or syndrome he had. Mm-hmm. But there was an issue last year that medically he almost lost his leg. So very scary situation for him. But watching his, kind of transitioning from that, watching his interview with Nathan Zagura was very insightful. Kind of saying that some of the best, clearest minded football he's ever played has been under Jim Schwartz. So It's clear that this was intentional from both him to be in Cleveland, but also Jim Schwartz to bring him here.
Yep.
So let's move on to, actually, before we do that, right, because there's another linebacker we got to talk about that we're going to disagree on. Your thoughts on Jordan Hicks?
So I like the signing of Jordan Hicks. I think it makes a ton of sense, and you're correct, 100% correct, spot on. This is the Anthony Walker replacement. You replace one guy who's kind of your veteran of the room, do everything you need him to do in the middle, and be that role for you. You replace Anthony Walker, which, by the way, just want to throw this out there. I greatly appreciate Anthony Walker. I feel like he's kind of gone under the radar for a lot of fans, he's been a pivotal part of the defense. Unfortunate that he's had the injuries that he's had. But AWOC has been great in Cleveland for multiple reasons over the last couple of years, and I'm happy for him. Hope that he succeeds in Miami. Awesome. Like, I really do wish the best for him. However, Jordan Hicks, signed him to a 2-year extension, so he's your Anthony Walker for the next 2 years. But I agree with you. More athletic, I think more versatility. He's a tackling machine, which this is a team last year that, you know, and maybe not so last year, but even the year prior, like, struggled with tackles. And there are some guys on that defense that are still here. And I think it doesn't hurt adding a guy, like you mentioned, who's played under Jim Schwartz, understands the defense/defensive schemes that he's going to want to run. You bring him in here, 2 years, cheap. I want to say he's getting paid like $4 million a year or something cheap. But
yeah, $4 million a year. Yeah.
Yeah. So you're not paying him hardly anything at all. In terms of the big piece of the pie, he's getting a little sliver. You know, we're keeping him satisfied just enough for 2 years. But yeah, I think it's great. And the biggest thing is athleticism, versatility, his knowledge, guy who can be your green dot. I think it's awesome. I think bringing in Jordan Hicks is a smart move. And in terms of what Andrew Berry's kind of done this offseason as far as getting value cheap, because we've been shopping off of that dollar menu, but we've been getting some good stuff. You know, we've been filling up. Jordan Hicks, I think, is one of the best parts of that. You know, we haven't brought in a whole lot of new players necessarily, but in terms of the value of the new players, you're I almost said Quinton Judkins. You're Quentin Jefferson. And Jordan Hicks, you know, two guys who can do a lot for you at a very cheap price. Gotta love it. I think the Jordan Hicks signing, is it going to blow you away? No. Is he going to be elite Pro Bowler Fred Warner? No. But in terms of the role that we had and what we're replacing with, great. Love it. But yeah, there is one guy. I don't think we're going to disagree all that much. I think it's just one part of it we'll disagree on, but I'll let you go first, Tristan. Go ahead.
Yeah, so the Browns signed Devin Bush to a 1-year deal. Former Michigan Wolverine, former Pittsburgh Steeler. So everything Derek hates in life, Devin Bush pretty much touches that. Mm-hmm. So hey, don't get it twisted though. I hate the Steelers too. But this is intriguing for me, Devin Bush. So this is what we are expecting to be the Sione Takitaki replacement. For me, this is a bit of a risk, right? Because I think what Takitaki was in this system, you knew what you were getting from him, right? You knew the production that you were going to get. There were no real big holes in Sione Takitaki's game. But at the same time, he wasn't necessarily like a playmaker per se. But regardless.
Say what you want. I watched that man pick off Phillip Rivers. Or was it him or was it Ronnie Harrison? I want to say it was Taki, wasn't it?
Did you say Phillip Rivers?
Phillip Rivers when he played for the Colts. Remember?
Was that him?
That was him.
Geez, I can't remember that pick.
Yeah. Anyway.
I can't remember it. Wow, that's insane.
Somebody knows what I'm talking about.
Yeah, somebody out there does. Somebody does. But regardless, I mean, like, you know, you knew what you were getting with Taki, right? He wasn't like a liability at all. He was just solid, and he brought some physicality and some nastiness to the team. I think that was noticeable. However, you know, I think that what Taki has been here, we really appreciate. Mm-hmm. However, I think we're making this a little bit, as far as the Browns fan base, I think we're making this a little bit too big of a deal. And the reason why I say that is he went to New England on a very cheap deal. So what does that tell you about how the rest of the league feels about Sione Takitaki, right? even though he did, and I don't mean this in a disrespectful way. I'm very, very thankful for what Sione Takitaki did here, and I think he's a great football player, and I would have loved to bring him back. But I do think that there is maybe a section of Brown's Twitter especially that's kind of overblowing exactly what he was. And this is coming from somebody who praised the hell out of him. I wanted him extended. I wanted him here. I loved having him here. But I don't think that Devin Bush replacing him is a terrible replacement. So let's talk about it. Devin Bush coming from Seattle. I thought, he had an okay year in Seattle. Wasn't necessarily the biggest positive or anything like that, but he was solid. He played a good role there. I think Devin Bush is a very intriguing player. I think that, number one, his athleticism pops off. That's first and foremost thing, right? He is more athletic than Sione Takitaki. The biggest question mark with him is, right, like, Takitaki wasn't the best in pass coverage, but he was solid. Didn't really get exposed ever, right? And against the run, he was very good. Like, in my opinion, he was pretty good, I should say, in the run. Can Devin Bush translate that in pass coverage? I think yes. I think he can be, in this system, a better person in pass coverage than Sione Takitaki. Where I kind of have my question mark is against the run. Against the run, is he capable of doing what Takitaki would do? Like, I don't know, man. For me, I'm not comfortable with this replacement. I see why we made it, and I see the upside. And listen, this is Jim Schwartz's defense, and this is how he wanted it constructed. We could have very easily brought back Sione Takitaki. It would have been very, very easy to do. And Jim Schwartz wanted something different. So, for me, I'm going to believe in Jim Schwartz, and I'm going to believe in Devin Bush's upside, because it's there. I really do. I really do feel that way. And let me just say, like, between JOK, and this is what I almost think is the ultimate reason for bringing in Devin Bush and Jordan Hicks, is it really frees up JOK now, right? Because JOK was kind of our best coverage linebacker. It wasn't particularly close either, because he is very, very good in coverage. But now it's almost like, right, like they can like blitz JOK a lot more now, which I think they want to do. They can drop him deeper into coverage now, which they can now do. Like, I think that there's a lot more versatility with JOK now that you've got the two linebackers in that you got, because they're athletic enough and they're good enough in coverage to allow you to kind of use JOK as a chess piece. And kind of as like the queen, where like can do anything and everything. I'm intrigued. I'm excited. So definitely a question mark with Devin Bush, but I think it makes sense.
Mm-hmm. So with Devin Bush, I was not upset that we signed him because of him as a player. I was upset with us signing Devin Bush, and a lot of people disagree with this, but it's just my opinion. I think they view him as a starter. I think they are going to start him, which scares the hell out of me, because not that Devin Bush is a bad player, and I want to put this into perspective. Devin Bush was a monster at Michigan. Monster. And great player. Like, legitimately, on that team that they had that year, that was, I want to say, the year I'm thinking of, I don't remember. It might have been 2019. Michigan was ranked higher, was like a much better team as far as roster goes, especially when you look at it on paper. everybody thought Ohio State was going to lose to Michigan that year. Dwayne Haskins was our starting quarterback. It was in Columbus, and Ohio State absolutely blew Michigan out, right? That was the year we were expected to lose, and we just stomped them, which is hilarious. But nevertheless, that year, Devin Bush was nightmare fuel. Like, he was great. And again, the problem for me is not necessarily Devin Bush's ability or like him as a player, because when the Steelers got him, I was like, great, because he was, if you remember, it's sad, but it's the truth, he was the Ryan Shazier replacement, right? An athletic linebacker who is just a menace to society, right? That's what he was supposed to be. And here's my problem. This is ultimately, at the end of the day, my number one issue with this. Devin Bush is not the same Devin Bush he was in college. Devin Bush is not the same Devin Bush he was on the Steelers, or at least first year. He has dealt with injuries. He has really, really, really been slowed down and hindered because of injuries. And I think his career has, I don't want to say ended, but it has been halted before it's even gotten a chance to get started because of it. So for me, what's scary is I personally think, again, I think they view him as a starter. And I'm not comfortable. I'm not okay with that whatsoever. If he was a rotational piece, which a lot of these talking heads, people I respect, and I know you respect, are saying, love the signing, good rotational linebacker, love it. Well, my concern is I don't think he's a rotational linebacker. I think they view him as a starter. If that is the case, I am massively concerned. I am greatly, greatly concerned. However, if he is a rotational linebacker, I don't care. Like, it's fine. Like, he's fine. Like, regardless, even if he is not what he used to be, you can still find ways to use him. And again, at Michigan, he was kind of used as like, I already mentioned it, athletic. He was legit a menace the way he played linebacker, but he was good on blitzes. Like, he was good getting after the quarterback. I love that. I would love to have that player here, right? If we could go back in time and pluck him out of Michigan on this team, I would love it. I just don't think it's the same guy anymore. That's what scares me. And my problem with how the Browns have handled this offseason at linebacker is a couple different reasons. Well, before I get into that, let me say this first. I think the Browns are going to go back to running a lot of 4-2-5. I don't think you're going to, if he is going to be a starter, I think you're going to see a 4-2-5 with Hicks and JOK, and you have an extra DB and you rely on the guys up front. That's how I see it happening, if that's the situation. But if they're going to run a 4-3, it concerns me. And, okay, back to the offseason. The Browns had an opportunity to go out, and you're going to say, oh, are you still bitching about this? Yes, I am. The Browns had an opportunity this offseason to go out, and this is not an Ohio State-Michigan thing. This is just NFL. They had an opportunity to go get a guy who played in the state of Ohio, from the Cleveland area, wanted to come to the Cleveland Browns on record, and he ended up signing a $7 million contract with the Seahawks. I'm talking about Jerome Baker, right? And there's people who are saying he's not a scheme fit. I disagree. I think he would have been a great fit. I think, his skill set would have been very valuable. And especially in this conversation of like, hey, we're all in. To me, going to get Jerome Baker for a year, that's an all in. That's adding a very talented player on a defense that was already very talented. And, you sign Devin Bush, and it's kind of like, okay. And, do I think the Browns will draft a linebacker? Yes, I do. But what concerns me is I don't think there's not a guy that I would take at 54. And Andrew Berry, I don't think, values linebacker enough to take a guy that early. So,
I mean, the only time he did it was because of JOK. I mean, it was
JOK.
special circumstances. A
Mm-hmm.
you know top 20 prospect that fell incredibly far,
Mm-hmm.
and it was worth it to make that risk at linebacker. Like I'm with you. I hear you. Yeah, I agree. I don't think that there's a guy that stands out enough
Mm-hmm.
to be taken that high. But yeah, regardless, I'll let you keep going.
No, you're good. But my biggest thing is there's not a guy that you can draft and say he's going to play a big role. Like, I just don't see that. Like, Junior Colson, I like a lot. I love Peyton Wilson. I think he's the best of the group, and I think he would be a great fit. Do I think he'll be a Brown? No, I don't. Jeremiah Trotter Jr. is a name that a lot of people love, and I think would probably be the more likely addition, because that's a guy maybe you can get with a third if they want to go linebacker in the third round. But I'm not blown away by him. I'm really not. Like, that's a guy maybe Jim Schwartz gets his hands on and turns him into something, but like, there's no plug and play guy in this draft other than maybe Peyton Wilson. It's just not there. So I don't like it because I'm not comfortable with Tony Fields. I'm not comfortable if Tony Fields and Devin Bush are your two rotational guys. That ain't cutting it for me personally. So, gonna throw this out there. Probably ain't gonna happen, but there is a guy out there that if you had Devin Bush and this guy rotating, I would be happy with. Is he the perfect fit for the role we would need him? Not necessarily, but he's athletic, he's fun, former first round pick. You want to throw a name out there? Isaiah Simmons. Linebackers are going dirt cheap right now, and
Oh, dude, I remember on draft night. It was in 2017, I want to say.
with Simmons?
No, it wasn't 2017.
Oh,
What am
no,
I
it was
thinking?
2020. That was when we drafted Jedrick Wills.
Yeah, it was the Jedrick Wills draft. I do remember that.
Because guess where he got picked?
He got picked 7 to the Cardinals.
No, was it 7? Thought he was
Yeah.
picked 9th. Whatever. Anyway.
No, I thought it was 7 to the Cardinals, but I'm not sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, I wanted him really badly as Brown. I was high as hell on this guy. And I'm with you, Derek. Like, if they found a way to bring Isaiah Simmons to Cleveland, whew, between him, Bush, Tony Fields, like, I'd feel very good about that. Not only that, but those 3 names: athleticism. And I will say I am higher on Tony Fields than you. I do think that, especially when we talk about the fit, what it looks like Jim Schwartz wants from his linebackers now, athleticism. Tony Fields has that. He's a very athletic linebacker. Again, I mean, there's still players that need to sign deals. There's still players that need to get drafted. If a concern of a linebacker that could be rotational, because I actually do disagree with you. I think it's going to be 4-2-5 again this year. I really do feel that way. And Devin Bush is probably going to rotate. But I'm with you. I could be up for bringing in another linebacker for sure. But we'll see for sure.
Yeah. Listen, am I overly concerned about it? No, because guess what? Secondary's great, defensive line's great. Like, am I going to be worried about one of the linebacker positions? Not really, but this is nitpicking stuff. And I don't know. I just would have felt a lot better. Like, okay, let's put it like this. If the Browns signed Isaiah Simmons instead of Devin Bush and then signed Devin Bush later, I'd be like, okay, yeah, cool. But the fact that I just don't think he's the same guy. I just don't.
Yeah. This is just one that we'll disagree on. I really like the upside with him. And the other thing to remember with the people that are listening to this conversation, we if we end up losing, a playoff game or the Super Bowl because of our third linebacker, then we didn't lose the game because of our third linebacker.
Yeah.
Let's just put it like that. We if this is not in my opinion at least, this isn't a move that, whether we hit a home run with the guy that we both love, like Jerome Baker, whether we bring in an Isaiah Simmons or whatever. Excuse me.
Good.
Wow. I choked on oxygen. Yeah.
What are you, a fish? No, I'm just kidding.
I guess, right? But you fish. That's I don't know why that was so funny to me. But regardless, like, this isn't necessarily a position that's going to cost us games. At least it shouldn't be. But at the same time, we still want to improve, for sure.
Yeah.
We want to improve, and we want to be as good as we possibly can. So I hear where you're coming from, Derek. But yeah, I'm comfortable. I gotta say, I am comfortable with Devin Bush.
Yeah, I mean, I'd be comfortable with him if I knew he was a rotation piece, and I'm just a little bit disappointed that you had some opportunity, you didn't pounce on it. That's just my opinion. But again, like you mentioned, all in all, it's not the end of the world by any means. Like, it's not like, I don't know. Like, this is one of those things where it's like, when you're building your Madden franchise, right? You have every other piece, and you have the opportunity to fill the one piece you don't with a really good player, and instead you go the cheap route. Like, whatever. That's just how I view it. But nevertheless, the Browns have made a lot of moves. I feel very comfortable as far as the broad perspective heading into next season. Haven't even hit the draft yet. I can't wait for the draft. Let the Browns mess around and get a Keon Coleman on this team, or a Leggett, or like, dude, I'll be on here just absolutely making people hate me with how good I'll talk about the Browns. Like,
he's gonna sound like Greedy Williams. We're gonna win the Super Bowl.
Oh, dude,
You remember that?
Yeah, I can't wait. I cannot wait. So.
Yeah.
All that for us to draft offensive guard at 54. Anyway, all right. That's it for me. You got anything else?
No. There's going to be a lot more content coming this offseason, and some bigger, heavier conversations too. Because trust me, we realize that we're going to have to talk about some stuff and be serious about some stuff here, because we realize that what this year is. So, we got some deeper conversations to get into, but that's for later in the off season. Let's just enjoy the signings that we got now, and let's just be excited for the draft. This is, honestly, it's probably one of the most exciting moments of the NFL, on the NFL calendar, is free agency, and of course the draft too. Outside of that, week 1, the Super Bowl. So,
yeah.
Week 1 in playoffs, but yeah, I'm feeling good. I'm feeling good, Derek, and I can't wait for the next podcast already.
Hey, all right, everybody, go Browns. We'll see you in the next one.